It wasn't the right car. I realized it the second I pulled the door shut behind me and caught a glimpse of the dashboard. "Wait," I said, glancing down at my phone. The license plate didn't match. The car listed in the app was a black Toyota Camry. This was a dark blue Honda Accord with a cracked phone mount and a faint smell of old leather and cigarettes. "You're not my driver," I said, instantly reaching for the handle. "I'm not," the man replied calmly, eyes on the road. "But I figured you needed the ride." I froze. I should have gotten out. Every alarm in my brain was screaming at me. But I didn't. His voice wasn't threatening. Just sure. Like he knew something I didn't. "I thought you were waiting for me," I muttered. I was. Just not for a ride share. The streetlight slid over his face as we drove. Older, maybe late 50s. Strong profile. Salt and pepper hair. Clean hands. A quiet stillness in the way he sat. I finally found my voice. "Why didn't you say something when I got in?" "I wanted to see what you'd do." I stared at him. "That's supposed to make me feel better?" He chuckled, not mocking, but soft. "You looked like you needed 20 quiet minutes. I figured I could give you that." I was quiet. Because he wasn't wrong. I'd been crying, actually. Not visibly, but my cheeks were still warm, my eyes sore. I'd just finished another fight with my advisor. My roommate had locked me out to have her 5th boyfriend over this month, and my real Uber was nowhere to be found. Still. "I should probably get out," I said, hand still on the door. "You can," he said. "I won't stop you. Or you can let me take you where you were already going. No tricks. No weirdness." I hesitated. His hand stayed on the wheel. He didn't even glance at me. "What's your name?" I asked. He looked in the mirror. "Thomas." I nodded. "Leah." We drove. It was the quietest ride I'd ever had. Not just because there was no music, but because he wasn't trying to fill the silence. No small talk, no questions, just the hum of tires and occasional blink of turn signals. "You're not nervous?" he said suddenly, eyes still forward. "I should be. Maybe. But you're not." I looked out the window. "You don't seem like someone who'd hurt me." "I won't." He said it so simply, so directly. I believed him. We were close to my apartment now. I could see the intersection up ahead. "I'll stop here," I said. He pulled over, smooth and quiet. I reached for the door. "I'm sorry," he said. I paused. "For what?" "For letting you in when I knew you weren't the one I was waiting for." I turned slowly. "Then why did you?" His gaze met mine in the rear view. "Because I thought I recognized you." My heart stuttered. "You were my student. Years ago." I opened the door with shaking fingers. "I wasn't," I whispered. He didn't reply. Just nodded. "Maybe not. Or maybe you just don't remember." And then he was gone. But I stood on the curb for a long time, staring after the car. Because something about his voice made me wonder if he was right. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not the ride. Not even the weird calm I'd felt sitting next to a complete stranger. It was that last sentence. "You were my student." It followed me through my classes, echoed in the back of my skull when I tried to sleep, hummed under my skin like static. Something in me knew he wasn't lying. I just couldn't remember. By the 3rd night, I was pacing. I grabbed my jacket and keys and walked without thinking. Down the block, past the bakery, into the quiet part of the neighborhood where no one asked questions and everything smelled faintly of rain and concrete. That's where I saw him again, sitting on a bench outside the same cafe I went to every weekend. Like he belonged there. He looked up before I said anything. "I thought maybe you'd come by," he said. "You knew I wasn't your rider," I said. "Yes?" And you let me get in anyway. I did. Why? He gestured to the empty seat beside him. Sit, and I'll tell you. I sat. Slowly. He looked out toward the street. You walked into my freshman seminar 3 years ago. Fall semester. Philosophy of perception. You always sat near the window. I blinked. No, that's not possible. You dropped the class after 3 weeks. Something cold settled in my chest. I don't remember that, I said. You wouldn't. You barely spoke. But I remember faces, and yours never left. I didn't know what to say. So, I said, voice tight, this whole thing was on purpose? No, not at first. I was picking someone up nearby. Saw you standing there. I recognized you. And then you opened the door. Why didn't you say anything right away? Because I didn't know what it meant, or if it meant anything at all. I looked at him. Really looked. Why now? I asked. He finally looked at me too. Because you looked like you hadn't been seen in a long time. That hit harder than I wanted it to. I swallowed. Do you do this often? He shook his head. Never. You don't think this is, I don't know, weird? He smiled gently. Of course it is. But strange things aren't always dangerous. Sometimes they're just overdue. I stood. I don't know what you're doing here, but I can't be someone's unfinished chapter. He stood too. You're not. I just wanted 20 more minutes. That's all. But now I've had them, and if you want me gone, I'll go. I hesitated. I don't know what I want, I said. Then I'll wait. Somewhere that's not near you. Until you decide. I started to walk away, then paused. I never dropped that class because of the content, I said over my shoulder. I dropped it because someone in my life didn't want me thinking for myself. He nodded. I figured. I walked home slower that night. Not because I was afraid, but because a part of me hoped he'd still be there next time. I didn't expect to see him again, not that week. But then again, maybe I was lying to myself. Maybe a part of me had already started walking that same street on purpose, just hoping. It was Thursday evening, that almost sunset hour where everything gets dipped in honey and regret. I passed the cafe again, eyes pretending to scan the street, heart scanning for something else entirely. And there he was, same bench, same stillness, like a story waiting to be resumed. You're not lost, he said as I approached. No, I replied. I just forgot where I was going. Sit, he said gently. If you want. I sat without thinking this time. That was new. You always wore dark sweaters, he said, a memory blooming behind his eyes. Even in warm weather. I didn't like being noticed, I said quietly. And now? Now I just don't like being forgotten. He nodded. I never forgot you. We sat in silence, the kind that bends around your ribs and makes you aware of every breath. Then, like stepping carefully over broken glass, I asked, why did you stop teaching? His eyes flicked to mine. You remember me now. Not exactly. More like, I remember how I felt when you spoke. Like something in the world was starting to make sense. He exhaled slowly. There was a student, years ago, bright, brilliant even. We got too close. Not physically, nothing like that. But it blurred. She was fragile, and I didn't see it. What happened? I asked. She died. Car accident. Night after she emailed me something I never responded to. Oh. She was your sister's age, he added, and my stomach twisted. You knew my sister? No, but I knew of her. You two looked alike. But she had more fire. You have more restraint. I looked down at my hands. So you stopped teaching. He nodded. Left the city, started driving instead. Driving helped. People talk less when you're just the guy, taking them somewhere. And when I got in your car, you didn't look like someone who needed a ride. You looked like someone who needed to be seen. I was quiet. What's your name? I asked. Elliot. Not Professor Elliot? No, just Elliot now. Okay, Elliot. I paused, then dared. Do you want to get coffee? He raised an eyebrow. Like, right now? No, tomorrow, if you're free. Not as teacher and student, just two people who can't quite explain what they remember. He smiled, and it wasn't sad this time. I'd like that. I stood up. I'll be here at 4, I said. I'll be here before that, he replied. When I walked away, the air felt lighter. Not easier, but lighter. And I realized something. Maybe some people don't walk back into your life to teach you a lesson. Maybe they show up again because you were both unfinished chapters. And maybe, just maybe, this time, we'd write something new. The next day, I got to the cafe early. I kept telling myself it was just coffee, just a conversation. But my heart didn't believe me. It beat faster with every passing car. At 3:54, he walked in. Same jacket, same steady calm. You're early, I said. You said 4, he replied. I wasn't going to make you wait. We took the same table near the window. The barista didn't even ask this time, just brought 2 cups and a quiet smile. I wrapped my hands around the mug. I thought a lot about what you said yesterday. Elliot nodded. Me too. I didn't realize how much I was holding on to, like pieces I thought were gone, but they were just buried. He took a slow sip of coffee. Memories like that. It doesn't disappear. It just waits until you're ready. I looked at him. I remembered what you said to me, the last day of class. He set the cup down. You told me the world wasn't kind, but that didn't mean I had to match it. That I could survive without becoming sharp like everything around me. He looked out the window. You were quiet, but not invisible. You heard everything, and you carried more than you let on. I swallowed hard. I dropped the class that day. I know. I didn't want you to think it was your fault. I didn't, he said, but I hoped I hadn't made anything worse. You didn't, not then, but maybe now? I don't know what this is. He met my eyes. It's not about what it is. It's about what we do with it. Isn't it wrong? I whispered. He didn't answer right away. Then, not if it's honest. Not if we're careful. I felt something shift in me. Some thread pull tight. I'm not broken, I said. I never thought you were. I just don't want to be someone you see as a replacement for her. He leaned forward. You're not. You're a reminder that sometimes we get a second chance to listen better, to stay longer, to see clearly. We sat in silence, not because we ran out of things to say, but because nothing needed to be said just yet. When I stood to leave, he asked, Tomorrow? I smiled. You'll be here before me anyway. He nodded. Probably. And as I walked away this time, I didn't look back, because I already knew he was still there. It started raining 5 minutes after I left him at the cafe. I stood under the awning outside my apartment, phone in hand, heart heavier than it had been in days, not in a bad way, just full. At 10:17 that night, I got a message from an unknown number. I still remember the book you carried every week. Rilke, you underlined in red. I stared at the text, then typed back slowly. You always read the room like a confession. You read it like a poem you didn't want to end. I smiled. The next day, I brought the book with me to the cafe. It was worn, corners curled, spine soft. He noticed it the second he sat down. I always wondered if you finished it. I didn't, I said. I stopped after you left. Felt like I was reading into a void. He leaned back. It wasn't a void. It was just unfinished. We didn't talk about the past like something tragic anymore. We talked about it like we'd both survived it. You said it wasn't just a class, I said quietly. It wasn't. You were the reason I stayed longer than I should have. You reminded me why I started in the first place. Teaching? No. Believing in people. That caught me. I looked away, blinked hard. You think it's okay that we're here now? I don't know, he said, but I know it's real. I flipped the book open and showed him the underlined sentence. He read it aloud. Perhaps everything terrible is in its deepest being something helpless that wants help from us. I used to hate that line, I admitted. Thought it made everything sound like an excuse. And now? Now, I think it just means we all want to be seen, even the parts that scare us. He reached across the table. Didn't touch me, just left his hand palm up. I placed mine there without thinking. I wasn't looking for you, I said. I was, he said. We sat like that as the cafe emptied, as the sky darkened, as every reason to walk away faded into something quieter. This wasn't a class anymore. It was a beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was anxious, just wide awake. Alive in a way I hadn't been in a long time. I kept replaying his voice, the way he'd said it. I was, as if he'd been waiting years to speak those two words. The next morning, I skipped class. I walked to the cafe early. He wasn't there yet. At exactly 9:04, his car pulled up to the curb. This time he didn't park. He just rolled down the window. Need a ride? I laughed, shaking my head as I got in. Only if you promise to take me nowhere in particular. I think I can manage that. We drove. No maps, no destination. Just side streets and soft roads and words that kept slipping between us like the last pieces of a puzzle. I keep thinking about that day, I said, when I got in the car. I keep thinking about every day after, he replied. Were you scared? Terrified. But you didn't show it. He looked over, his profile warm in the morning light. I've spent most of my life not showing things. I'm trying to change that. We stopped at a red light. I turned to face him. You don't need to change for me. I want to change for me. You just made me remember how. We drove until we reached a clearing outside the city, a small lake, empty dock. He pulled off the road. Come on, he said, already stepping out. We walked down the dock in silence. The wind was cool, but not cold. I stood at the edge. He stood beside me. I think you knew, I said. Knew what? That day. When I got in your car. You knew I wasn't your passenger. He smiled. I knew. And you let me in anyway. I think I was hoping it was you. I looked at him. Me? He nodded. Not you from class. Not someone I used to know. Just you. Now, I reached for his hand. No hesitation this time. Maybe you got the right passenger after all. His eyes softened. No, I got the one I needed. We stood there a long time. No final words. No epilogue. Just two people, no longer strangers. No longer trying to rewrite the past. Just writing the rest. Together.